BBC Samurai goes gay in the new Assassin's Creed, all that and more in today's video. Ubisoft hints at an LGBT romance option for Assassin's Creed Shadows, says Yasuke and Naoe will attract and be attracted to different types of people. I'm not a fan of the extremely vague language, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it? In an apparent hint that both members of the Samurai Ninja duo will be members of the LGBT community, Ubisoft has revealed that the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadow will allow its protagonists Yasuke and Naoe to romance different types of people. I myself has always been a fan of romance options when it comes to RPGs, and I've always been open to romancing as many characters as I possibly can, so let's dive into this a bit deeper. The French developer provided this tease to Shadow romance mechanic in an official May 15th press release published alongside the game's first official trailer. Therein, providing details as to the game's various gameplay and story elements, Ubisoft eventually turned to discuss the characters Yasuke and Naoe themselves. In particular, how the pair provide the player with opposing perspectives on Nobunaga and the means he used to achieve his goals. So with this extract of the article, we can now determine that the game is actually happening during Nobunaga's life and not after that he's passed away, and we'll be able to experience the perspective of someone lurking in the shadows and someone that is in Nobunaga's direct command. The difference in their social stature is reflected in the world itself, which will respond differently to the players depending on who they are playing as. I don't know if you guys noticed in the gameplay trailer, when you're playing as Yasuke, the villagers actually regularly bow to you as you're walking. Different villagers will bow in different degrees. I don't know if this is like something that's retroactive and you'll have more people do deeper bows as you do more significant acts to help out the community, or if this is just more of a, regardless of where you are and how much you've done for the community, people just bow in different ways. Naoe, for example, can present herself as a peasant and garner appropriate reaction. Yasuke, on the other hand, comes from a different land, but his status as a samurai garners respect from others, so people will bow to him on the street. Characters can have different expectations of the pair. The added in some cases will prefer to deal with only one or the other. I actually think this is really cool because regardless of the fact that Yasuke is a samurai and a lot of people respect him because he's a samurai, I'm certain there are still a lot of people that are going to be extremely apprehensive of a foreigner, especially one that's black and is like 2 feet taller than everybody. In that time period, Yasuke probably looked like a monster to these people. And the same thing goes around for Naoe. I'm certain there's a lot of people that are not going to want to have to deal with a woman because of the time period. And I think if that happens in the game, points for historical accuracy. I know it's very uncomfortable, and I know a lot of white knights are going to be upset about, oh, they're dissing her because she's a woman. Yeah, that's how it was back then. That would actually be historically accurate, and I'd be very happy if they did that. Ubisoft then turned to discuss how the pair's desperate personality also led them to have different relationships and rapport with other characters, as they don't always feel the same way about people, nor do people always feel the same way about them. Again, I think this is really good because it's going to encourage people to try out both Yasuke and Naoe and not just stick to one of the characters for the entirety of the playthrough. In terms of romance, they additionally noted that both Yasuke and Naoe will also be attracted to different types of people, and thus through the pair, players will get to experience a multitude of relationships. All of this is kind of implying that we can have LGBT relationships, which we'll be discussing in a little bit. To this end, the developers use such a vague terminology in description. The pair's potential romantic interests suggests not only will the game feature straight romance trees, but also gay ones, and potentially, especially given the current media ecosystem, non-binary and transgender ones as well. Now, when it comes to forming relationships in video games, I've always been a fan of being able to romance my party members. When I first read this article, I was like, are you freaking serious? You guys are going to make Yasuke gay just for more brownie points. Like, first of all, you're doing an Assassin's Creed game in Japan. You don't give us a Japanese protagonist. Already there, a lot of people are upset about that. I think the Yasuke is a very cool character. However, even myself as a black person, I think it would have been better to have a male Japanese protagonist, and then we could have Yasuke as a DLC character or a side character or like the second playable character. I do not think that he should have been the main protagonist for a Japanese based game. However, I can understand that having Yasuke as a protagonist make things a little bit easier because his history isn't as well documented as other historical figures in that time. And by having a more vague history, it allows Ubisoft to tweak what happens with less backlash. Well, already I felt like they made him black for brownie points and then they made him gay for more brownie points. I was really upset. Until I did a little bit of research myself. So fun fact about Japan is that back in the day, and I'm talking about like the 16th century and before the 16th century, which is when this game happens, male and male relationships was actually commonplace. Samurai shogun would normally have a wife as a way to produce an heir. However, samurai would kind of get down with one another according to historical texts, the same way as Spartans did. Yes, it's literally gay. However, it's also historically accurate. And to really hit the nail home, sodomy and homosexual behavior became banned in 1972 when the West started bringing its culture over to Japan. Before the West actually interacted with Japan, same-sex relationships were actually commonplace. Now, I will go out and say this, I am not a fan of the current state of the world and how we're pushing the LGBTQ plus community on like everybody and everywhere you turn. I'm not a really big fan of how things are happening because it feels like it's forced. They're not letting things happen naturally. However, I cannot be upset at this because it is actually historically accurate this time around. However, and there is a big but in this instance, I do not think that they're doing it for the historical accuracy's sake. I think they're doing it for brownie points. If they were doing it for the historical, the sake of being historically accurate, I think they would have said something during the interviews. In the interviews, they simply tease and hint that it's going to be a possibility. If I was a Ubisoft developer or if I was a person being interviewed, I would immediately come out and go, oh yes, there's going to be same-sex relations in the game because back in those eras, it was permitted and it was actually quite common. The fact that it didn't just open the gates with that and they're like tiptoeing around the area is because they know how much backlash they've received from the previous games and now they're trying to save face by not telling anyone. I'm certain if they just came out and gave out the information and weren't trying to be so sneaky about it, I think there'd be less of a negative back. But that's what I think. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we're trying to hit 300 subs before the end of the month. And with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. BBC Samurai goes gay. If you want to see more of my face, be sure you hit the video you see on screen right now.